Ian, you recently went to Colombia, which was meant to be a 2-week holiday, and it ended up being a 4-week charitable act, and there was very little holiday to go and cut the homeless to create, I don't know, awareness of the barbering scene. Is that right? Tell me a bit about what you was doing when you was in Colombia.
I think it was about giving back. I've been fortunate enough to have everything that I ever wanted from when I was a 15-year-old kid. So, I don't want millions. Now, I like to give back. So I go back to Colombia, I see a lot of poverty. I saw a lot of hairy kids in the poor barrios, what they call over there. And I thought, let's go out there and cut hair.
Okay. So that's where you was actually born originally, is it?
I was actually born here.
Okay, but you just.
But all my life, my parents took me back home, and I know a lot about my culture, and I know a lot about where my parents are from. I used to go every year, so.
Okay, so did you actually plan to go and cut, or was it like a spontaneous?
Yeah, I took my tools. I have a massive family over there, so I always take my tools. Everyone always asks me, can I get a haircut? So I thought, let me take my tools, and do it properly. And then I just thought, well, let's go out and do that.
Okay, tell me a little bit about some of the areas that you went into and why you went into those areas.
Well, I just thought, well, where is it most needed? So I thought the slums. The poorest of the poor. So there's in Medellin, it's like a valley, and like the people that come in from other cities and stuff to for a new start, they always end up right at the top of the valley, and it's where all the real poverty. There's no running water, there's no electricity up there. So I just went up there, and started up in the churchyard. And the priest there went out and spoke to the locals and told them that there was this guy that was over from London to cut their hair. And then the kids started coming in and more kids started coming in, and then I was surrounded by kids. And so that was one. I've done that 3 times. I went to another one where it was in a school, and then there I gave school supplies and pencils, because over there it's not like school over here. You get your schools and your supplies given to you and stuff. So the kids were really happy about that, and it's all about the smiles on their faces.
And did you gain more momentum? Was there other barbers that from
Colombia
themselves that came and assisted?
A lot of barbers from out there already had us on the Instagram and on Facebook and stuff, and they knew that I was out there, and they wanted me to come out and say hello and stuff. So I did. I went to quite a few of them, and I asked them. I told them what I was doing, and I asked them who wanted to come with me. The only thing is that in Colombia there's a lot of gang warfare and stuff, and one barber can't go into that area and the other barber couldn't go and cut over there. But I said to them, well then send me your apprentice. No one knows them. And so I took their apprentices with me, and off I went. And I got to do more. On the first one I went on my own, but I didn't get to do as many kids as I could have. So I thought, I've got to get a gang around me. Went and got some barbers to come up there, and I got some hairdressers too, so they could do the mums and the girls too.
Okay. And did that help build relations between the 2 gangs, this charitable act?
Well, funnily enough, in the barbershops that I visit, they're not really aware of like the whole social media thing. They use their Facebook very personally. So I try to show them Instagram and Facebook, how to use it business-wise, and show them about barber life and barber love and barber brotherhood. And there's a lot of barbershops, but not that brotherhood. So I was trying to put that in place, and it's worked. A lot of barbers out there were starting to do it off their own back, started barber battles, but friendly. And at one point, I managed in one barber shop to get 5 barbers that used to work together, but now they were practically enemies. And for the first time in like 2 years, they had just because of the ideas that we were discussing, they were all together in the same room, and then they went on to do a barber life event and a barber battle.
So a little bit more came out of it.
Yeah, a little bit more came out of it, yeah.
And tell me about the kind of what the child had gained at the end of the haircut. Where was they when they started, and how was they when they finished in the typical situation?
Oh, what, the children up in the slums?
So you've kind of brought them in with a matty head, so to speak.
Well, yeah, some of the children turned up with, dad an alcoholic. You're looking about yourself and stuff, and there's no pavement nowhere. There's no lights anywhere. You know, they're running electricity off the last neighborhood that's practically miles down there. But these are people that get together and they do things like that. They help each other build a shack so he can live there when he first gets there. So I saw a lot of very humble, it was very, very humble around me. And so the kids turn up and, you know, some of them were wearing like hand-me-down clothes and the hairs, obviously, they haven't had a haircut, and the dad also. So I said, yeah, just took them in and like, come, sit down, what haircut do you want? And, you know, got my phone out, showed them some, what, do you want something like that or something like that? Just got them to try and smile a little bit. And by the end of it, yeah.
So you lifted quite a number of
lifted a bit of spirits, yeah. And all the parents, you could tell the parents that understood it a little bit more. The parents were really grateful. They, you know, thought I was a bit crazy, but.
And I heard at one point that you had the Colombian TV channel. Tailing you.
They heard about what I was doing, and they came out and followed me on the last day that I did, and they took me to a school. They helped me to get to a bigger school, and again, one of the poorer areas, and this school that's government funded. But it was nice, and I went out the schoolyard and they just kept bringing kids and kids and kids. And it was fun. It was fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how are you going to take this forward? I mean, you've obviously started and created something now in Colombia.
Well, like I said, some barbers have taken it on themselves to go out there and do it themselves. So that's really started what I wanted it to do. I wanted it to encourage other barbers that, yeah, that's good, it's giving back. As barbers, we do well. If you put the hours in, you can do well. So, and it's a nice job. How many of your customers come in and I've got to go back to work? We never say that. We enjoy it. We look forward to the next customer coming in. I wonder what he's going to come up with. You know, it's always, you know, it's a complete different environment to your normal working 9 to 5 behind a desk.
Okay. And do you plan to do anything like this in the UK? Have you tried to?
Yeah. We've got something in plan. I'm already working on that. Hitting the streets of London with some top barbers, friends of mine, my barber brothers. Hitting the streets of Brighton.
Okay.
Collaborating with my family from AONO. So yeah, it's in the works, it's in the plans, and I'm planning to go back to Colombia. Like a spin-off of the barber battles that started off. They're gonna do a big barber battle final, and they want me to come over and judge it. So I can't wait.
Okay. And have you got a name for this new concept that you've created in Colombia?
No, I haven't. You know, I haven't. Maybe you can help me come up with something. Yeah, I've got to put a name to it. You're right. Yeah, I've got to put a name to it.
You've created a brand now, so you have to build on that.
Yeah, I have seen it grow, which is exactly what, you know. I've got to give thanks to names like Mark Bustos and the guys that go out and done that, because I'm sure that's what Mark wanted in the first place. I've never even spoke to him in that, but I know that him by doing that, it's what he wanted to happen. And the more barbers that do it, I've heard people make comments that, oh, but everyone's doing it. I said, that's the whole point. That's what we wanted. The more people go out and give back, then it just gets bigger and bigger. And I know that next time I go out, it's going to get bigger and bigger. Because whoever wins that barber battle is going to have to come out. That's one of the trophies. To come out and cut some homeless people with me on the streets in Medellin.
Okay. So how much time was you actually out there cutting? Out of the 4 weeks?
A lot of the time. I did 3 different days, full days that I went up to the slums, like I said, and I cut all the kids and stuff. I did one full day in a jail, in a youth offenders jail, which was pretty tough, because, you know, these are kids that, well, they're a little bit older, but they weren't ready for real jail, and it's an eye-opener, especially when you've got kids yourself. And it was nice they wanted me to come out and tell my story, and, you know, how I became a barber and how the shop's going and stuff. Try and inspire them a little bit, so I went there and I done a whole full day there. And then one of the most touching days was the day I went to do, there's a bridge in the middle of Medellin where there's 1,500 addicts all living there. And these are people that no one talks to, and you know, people discard, and they forget about them. And so I went underneath there, and I saw some things that really touched me. And I cut some hair, and I cut the guy that hadn't had a haircut for 15 years, and he had some stories to tell. And so yeah, I've done a lot out there. And like I said, it wasn't really a holiday. It was about giving back to my people.
So that's right. You worked so hard. The money that you'd normally spend on entertainment, because you was working so hard out there, that actually paid for you and your wife to go to Las Vegas.
To Las Vegas, to Floyd Mayweather's last fight. I was there at the MGM. From the West End to the MGM, Larry.
That's
we do it.
So, Champ, describe the kind of conditions that you had to work in when you was doing this charitable act all around Colombia. I mean, paint a picture for us.
Well, there weren't no barber chair, that's for sure. There weren't no barber chair. In one instance, I went to a schoolyard. It was out in it was a concrete slab, really. Again, it's just about electricity, so it's an extension that it came out of the kitchen, down the stairs, and then it connected to another one. And yeah, I'm on the top of a mountain, so there is light.
Okay.
But then the sun's beating down on me, and yeah, that's the kind of conditions. Someone said, "Champ, what do you want? Do you need anything, or what do you want?" I said, "Just bring me water." And more kids kept coming, and they were coming on their break, or they're like, "Who's next? Who's next?" And they're all starting to get complicated and giving me some lines and stuff. But it was about making them smile again, so I couldn't stop. So I had to keep going.
What kind of audiences did you have? What kind of numbers?
A bunch of mosquitoes biting me on my legs too. Yeah, and the audience was obviously the kids and some of the teachers. Some of the mums that volunteered to come up and help out, they helped out also. Conditions wise, obviously the jail, they gave me a room where they would hold a class. That was a little bit, nicer. But, and the day that I went to do the homeless guys under the bridge, I was struggling for light. The guy actually went and found another homeless guy that had chairs, and he brought back a chair, and there was this homeless guys surrounding me. And that day I took food and drink, and so they were enjoying that. And there was fridges, because the guy that I cut his hair, the first one, the guy that practically run this area, and it was just a tree with a piece of green next to a motorway, which separates underneath the bridge where they all live. And the guy was this really touched me. The guy was really proud of his plot, his little land, and all he had was, like I say, the tree, a plastic cover in case of rain, and a broom handle.
Okay.
And an old fridge, which everyone was sitting on.
To do the haircuts, that was your barber chair?
That was my barber chair, yeah.
And what was the most memorable cut, and why?
I think it's got to be the guy that hadn't had a haircut for 15 years. Because of the stories because every haircut in barbering's usually got a story with it. Someone tells you what they do, or someone tells you something. If you know the customer for a long while, they'll tell you something more personal. But this guy hadn't had a haircut for 15 years. Told me that the last time was when he come out of prison, and that was pretty memorable to me. Yeah.